On February 24th, Ukrainian families woke up to their country under siege. Missile strikes and military attacks destroyed homes, schools, and businesses, putting countless lives at risk. In the days that followed, millions of people were forced to flee their homes in search of safety, setting off the largest refugee emergency in Europe since World War II. In the first 6 weeks of the conflict alone, a quarter of Ukraine's population were forced to flee their homes, finding safety in other regions of Ukraine or crossing borders into neighboring countries. 90% of those who've been forced to flee are women and children. Those who fled but remained displaced within the borders of Ukraine are known as internally displaced people, or IDPs. Many were driven from their homes by heavy shelling and fighting and face the devastating impacts the war has had on their country and its infrastructure every day. In the first year of the war, all of Ukraine's thermal and hydroelectric power plants were damaged, with an estimated 12 million people cut off from the country's electrical grid. This is especially dangerous during the winter months in Ukraine, when temperatures routinely drop below freezing. Families already struggling to secure shelter, food, and clothes are also cut off from heating and electricity. The UN Refugee Agency has been delivering essential aid in Ukraine since 1994 and has continued to support humanitarian efforts throughout the country, but the war has put a strain on these operations. Because of these dangerous and unlivable conditions, millions have been forced into neighboring European countries to find safety. In 2022, the UN Refugee Agency recorded approximately 8 million refugees from Ukraine across Europe. Many refugees are being hosted in countries throughout the region, including Moldova, Hungary, and the Czech Republic, but Poland has seen the largest influx of displaced people, welcoming nearly 60% of all Ukrainian refugees. The UN Refugee Agency, in collaboration with national and local governments and other NGOs, is providing vital services and critical information for refugees arriving in neighboring countries. Refugees can access protection services, temporary accommodations, warm meals, cash assistance, safe spaces for women and children, and more. These services fill critical gaps in care for those fleeing Ukraine. The ongoing crisis continues to impact neighboring countries' capacity to respond and is causing ripple effects across the world. Ukraine is known as the breadbasket of Europe and supplies a significant portion of the world's agricultural commodities, including wheat, barley, corn, and sunflower. The conflict in Ukraine is causing supply chain disruptions globally and increasing the price of food, fuel, and other commodities. Rising prices and worsening social tensions can exacerbate conditions in already vulnerable refugee situations in other parts of the world, furthering the risks of gender-based violence and other forms of exploitation and abuse. With funding needs skyrocketing, the UN Refugee Agency saw a $700 million funding gap in the first year of the war in Ukraine, putting great strain on operations in Uganda, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Sudan, Iraq, Ethiopia, and other countries in dire need of support. Displaced Ukrainians remain at the center of this conflict, and they cannot be forgotten as the war continues. Everyone has the right to seek safety and deserves to live with dignity. Until refugees from Ukraine are able to return home safely, critical aid, protection services, and safe passage must be ensured. Visit unrefugees.org to stay up to date on the latest news from Ukraine and subscribe to our YouTube channel to see more videos like this and stories from refugees around the world.